Hello, welcome back to the sharpest college football podcast from LeanTossup Sports. This is BuckMetrics. I'm joined, as always, by Robert. Robert, are you looking forward to week 9?
Yeah, I am. I mean, we had a really good week last week, and it's yeah, I'm pretty excited for week 9. There's only a couple more weeks left for college football, man, and then and obviously the bowl games, conference championship games. So, but yeah, I'm excited to move on to this. We're starting to get into the thick of the season now. These are when um, the good team, like this is where some teams choke. The good teams start coming out, and we start getting the good games. Right, these are the rivalry games. Like we've got Florida Georgia this week. We start getting some of the big rivalry games as we come down the stretch, and obviously finish off there on Thanksgiving with the biggest rivalries. So yeah, I'm pretty excited to see what we've got for this week. So yeah.
Yeah, I one point about that. I try to be a little optimistic. So we've got 5 more weeks of the regular season left, and then a sixth week if we can count the conference championships. And just for some context, when we're 6 weeks away from the season starting, it seems like it's going to be forever, right? So just think of
Mm-hmm.
it that way. We've got forever for this season to last still.
Yes, that is true. Yeah, like we're sitting here in August, it's like, oh man, college football's forever away, and then all of a sudden
Yep.
it's 6 weeks away. But yeah, so
More than forever. Okay.
more than forever.
The metrics. Top 20 teams. Big win for Brutus Buckeye last week. You gave them in part one the winner award for week 1. So they're on top by my power ratings. You have them number 3. So talk to whoever built that model and have a little straighten them out, please. Michigan, Oregon, you're not as bullish as my model is on. I'd be curious what that's about. And same for Notre Dame and LSU. What do
So
you?
it is interesting. So I'm trying to play around. I'm still going to work on some weightings for this. Um, but basically, this is combining the model plus a classic kind of second order dominance one, as I
Mhm.
described in the earlier podcast. So it's kind of mixing them together, and it's basically it's trying to clear up the model for strength of schedule because sometimes I'll like if two teams play and I model thinks one team should have won, then it's still a better team, right? So, and now to be fair, you also still have Oregon over Washington, right? But there should be some metric that says Washington is a better team. So I'm trying to mix them together. I'm still working on the ratings. My model also has Oregon as a better team than Washington, even though it technically has it flipped. But yeah, I think there is some pieces to this. Again, Ohio State 3 versus 1, not really a huge difference there. I don't think it's really. I'm not really concerned about it too much, but I think I think having Ohio State as a top 3 team is definitely fair.
Yeah. Other things that stick out here to me, James Madison, you've got him 26. I've had him in the top 20 for a few weeks now, and the polls finally caught up. Actually, they got ranked this week for the first time. Conversely, I've got Air Force. They jumped in to my top 20 at number 14. You got them 22nd, and they were ranked the week before. So we were early on JMU, a little late on Air Force. I've got Florida State below yours. I think, your model tends to value quarterbacks and offense a little more than mine. Troy, we both have in the top 20. I don't think Troy is ranked by the national dopes, are they? I don't think so. Probably not. I don't think they have any votes. Well, that's a shame.
Yeah.
And then Duke hanging in the top 20 after that game loss versus Florida State.
Yeah, I think it is interesting you have Florida State that low. I think my model is starting to really like them, and I think they're like they probably outside of like Georgia, and we're gonna see how real Georgia is this week. Outside of Georgia, I think they could be one of the better teams in the conference in college football. And I think it's in the one thing I will say that's interesting is Texas Oklahoma. So we both have Texas ahead of Oklahoma, but we massively differ as to where those two should be. My model
Mm-hmm.
weirdly likes Texas. Now, there's a reason why it likes Texas. So one, it still has Quinn Ewers as the as the quarterback because he played more snaps and he'll probably come back. But the thing is, the reason it likes Texas so much is because Houston has been a team that's had a lot of rushing success against in their past games,
Mm-hmm.
and they held them to such a low rushing total that or such a small rushing per play that basically, although they almost lost that game, it actually helped them, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So because it's like, oh man, Texas's defense is really, really good. It's like, well, actually, not really. But now they really just didn't run the ball at all. But this is kind of a thing where it's like sometimes that can happen. So I'm still relatively low on Texas. I don't think they deserve to be 5, but I also don't think Oklahoma deserves to be as high. Like, we both are much lower in Oklahoma than the consensus national polls, and I think that's correct. I think that's correct. We're both higher on LSU, I think, than other people are. That I like that as well. Liberty as well. We both have Liberty in the top 10. That's definitely not the same as in the national polls. And yeah, neither of us have Georgia number 1. So yeah, there's a lot of similarities, but there, in some key areas, I think we both agree in fading some teams against the national polls, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. One thing, and you hit on LSU. That kind of brings to mind a point when you also talked about Florida State. There's 2 games here that I think are aging. One I'd say is aging really well, and one is aging as better than originally thought. When Florida State, I think they held LSU to like 14 or 17 points. It was under 20 for sure, right? That's
I
aging
maybe yeah.
exceptionally well.
Mm-hmm.
And then that game at Boston College, which was like a dreadful, oh my gosh, what do we have here? In part 1, we talked about Thomas Castellanos and how he's basically saved Jeff Half-Life's job. It's not turning into, boy, what a gem that turned out to be, but it turned out to be okay. It wasn't as as an existential threat of a game as it appeared.
Mm-hmm.
As it unfolded before my shocked eyes. I guess I'd put it that way.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the reasons why I've got Florida State up to 4. And because it's caught on to that, and it's like, hey, Boston College isn't that bad. And then I think that's one of the reasons why they're up so high. Ole Miss being you have Ole Miss at 15, and then
You
you have
do.
Alabama. Or sorry, you have 17. So you have Bama and Ole Miss about the same. I do have Bama higher than Ole Miss. So I think that makes sense in some ways. It's weird. Bama is this team that like I feel like, although it seems like they should be losing games, they're just not. And I think they,
Yeah.
yeah, I think LSU is coming up. I think in a week we'll be talking about that game next week. Watch out for that one.
Yeah.
That one is finally one I think could actually give them a run. Like, I think people are massively discounting LSU because they lost to Florida State, and then they also lost to not Ole Miss or Mississippi State. No, Ole Miss, right? They lost to Ole Miss, right?
Yeah, yeah, that was at like 59-56 game or something crazy
Yeah,
like
they
that.
lost. They randomly
Yeah.
lost to Ole Miss. So I think the problem is I think some people are dismissing them for that. They are definitely still alive in the SEC West. So if they beat Alabama, they're right back into it. So LSU not only has a chance to do that, but they also have a chance to go back to the conference championship game, and then they also have a chance to beat Georgia. So, and
Yeah.
now I don't know how far that would get them. I don't know if that would get them a shot at the national championship game again. I don't know, but maybe. But it's going to be really tight with a potential one or an undefeated or one loss Pac-12 champion. So a lot of chaos there. But LSU is definitely not done. So
Yeah, agree. They, as all teams do, but especially a 2-loss team, there's a path there where Ole Miss and Ole Miss could end up in the top 15, and Florida State obviously in the top 3 or 4. That's the way that LSU ends up getting that last spot, I think. And obviously they have to win out from here. Speaking of LSU, my top 20 offenses, LSU jumping over Washington by a significant amount. I think a lot of that is that horrible showing that Washington had at home against Arizona State. My model really punishes interceptions too. Counts them as basically huge negative plays. You know, Liberty's still in the top 10 as we speak. They're putting the wood to Western Kentucky. UCF jumped up from 20 to 15th. UCF is, it's weird. I kind of said that they're a hard team to read. I think they're maybe kind of good and unlucky. I think last week I mentioned that they were just unlucky. I think their defense is still a little suspect, but I think their offense is kind of a proven thing-ish, he said, without much confidence. And Oregon State now 11. That's kind of gone under my radar, but got to tip your cap to what Smith's done with With a very suspect quarterback coming in, I was not convinced, but I'm exceptionally convinced now.
Yeah, when I look at my model, I have Oregon State really high too, and I'm like, that's very weird. But I think they still have some tough games ahead too, so they're not out of the woods yet. But they're good. People seem the model seems to like them, so it's going to be very interesting. And I don't know where this team's going next year, right? Like this, we don't this team currently is in the Pac-2. Um, I got nothing as to like, are they going to play a game? Like, are they going to play a home and home in the regular? Like, if it was a Pac-2, because I think there's some rumors now that they may just stay as a Pac-2. Do they play like a home and home and then just schedule a bunch of non-conference games and then they play a conference championship game between both? If someone wins two games, they just win the conference. Like, I don't even know. Or no, isn't
Yeah,
there's a requirement that you have to have so many teams to play a conference championship game? I don't.
you do, yeah.
But then in that case, then if they split the home and home, is it the dual the back to the Big 12 dual conference champions?
Maybe they've got a tiebreaker that'll go to like to the 17th kind of element, which is
Flip a
I don't
coin.
know, most first downs combined in the two games.
That would be hilarious. But I mean, here's the
Yeah,
thing. Hopefully, they get to either the Big 12 or something. I hope they find a spot. And these two teams are actually pretty good, so it'd be nice if they actually got to the Big 12. So
yeah. Another point about Oregon State is they do have some tough games, but I think that they've. I don't think they're going to play any defenses better than the two that they have faced so far in UCLA and Utah. I don't think it's going to get any tougher than those two. So that's probably one reason that the rating is so high too. That they lit up UCLA, who my model loves, and I think they had a pretty good game against Utah. All right, forgot about this. My top 20 defenses. The mascot for Penn State, because that mascot is so horrible, is just sad James Franklin instead of a cute, cuddly Nittany Lion. Um, you know, Penn State remains number one, like I said in part one. We were talking about some of these dopey opinions about, well, Ohio State didn't look good against Penn State. Well, Penn State's defense is exceptional and by far the best so far this season in all of FBS. So there's not going to be any teams that I think will look, quote, good against Penn State. Air Force being at number 4 is interesting. Now, my model is adjusted for strength of schedule. But, to be fair, not totally. It's just easier to shut down an inferior opponent. So I think there's a little bit of that Mountain West magic in there. James Madison in the top 10, that actually doesn't surprise me. It's good to see that's kind of, being validated by the nation as a whole, I guess. One team that snuck in here this week is SMU at 14. I think when you basically don't let Temple get more than like 10 yards, that'll help you a lot. So don't know how repeatable that is and how long they'll stay, but it's not like they, just crept in at number 20. I'll keep an eye on that one. That just was not expected.
yeah, we've seen some of these just blowouts of it's not even like, okay, if it's like Penn State or Ohio State playing like a G5 team, you're like, okay. But we've seen some absolute savage blowouts of like G5 versus G5 violence. And it's just like it's like that was just a demolition of Temple there. And SMU is actually pretty good this year. They seem to be pretty good. So, yeah,
Yeah, and a shout out to Josh, who actually, I think,
said that, yeah.
well, I don't know. We'll give him both sides of the coin. He said that he expected them to be one of the best G5 teams. Do you remember who he said the other one thought would be?
Tulane?
No. I'll give you a hint. They are now dead adjacent. Boise.
Yeah, Boise. Yeah, that's right.
I told him, yeah, we disagree on that one, pal. Listen to the Mountain West preview for that. So, all right, my strength of record based on your wins, the quality of wins. How do you fare or measure up against what an average FBS team would be? Oklahoma has been in the top, one of the top 2 spots since they beat Texas. Good for them. Florida State. This is interesting. Interesting that their strength of record is so much higher than I have their power rating, which makes me think that Boston College thing is just dragging them down a little, or I guess considerably. Interesting, James Madison at number 5, a Sun Belt team, is in the top 5, but they've played, pretty much the class of the conference in both South Alabama and Troy, if I remember correctly. Utah at number 10 now. I guess the model loves, winning on the road at USC. Liberty 11, again, another Sun Belt team in there. Like I said, a couple of weeks ago, Sun Belt team is clearly the best of the G5s. Toledo jumps in from out of nowhere to number 14. Big win against Miami of Ohio, who seemed to be the team that would, be threatening them for one of the best in the MAC. And Georgia State jumps up in number 18. They won at Louisiana, which is a big win. Louisiana has been in one of my top offenses for a few weeks now, so good job by them. And just to remind you, I actually picked them to go to the Sun Belt title game. Now, maybe the Virginia legislature has other things to say about that. Going back to our Threats Work podcast. But I don't know. We'll see. So anything here surprise you in terms of strength of record?
No, I mean, I think Florida State, Ohio State, Oklahoma is a little interesting, but I think Texas is doing a lot of the heavy lifting there. And I guess they're just kind of okay. Bama, yeah, they just keep playing good teams, but they keep making them look bad, right? So it's now the thing is, I don't know if it's the fact that because they beat a team and then that team looks horrible. So I just don't know if it's the fact that they are that good and they're just making good teams look bad, or they're beating up on a bunch of bad teams. I kind of think it's they're beating up on teams that are actually kind of bad, with the exception of Ole Miss. But I that's what I think it is. But I could be wrong on that. And again, they lost to Texas, and Texas isn't a particularly good team, right? And Texas is up there with strength of schedule as well. So this is roughly what I expect. But yeah, some of these have played some pretty rough schedules. Yeah. So
yeah. Air Force number 17 too. That's nice to see that. It's not just lopsided. Where they're in my top 20 in ranking and strength of record.
Mm-hmm.
All right, my top 10 in the group of 5. Looking for the Access Bowl bid. Number 2 obviously isn't eligible here. Liberty. I don't know. I think we've said it a few times on this podcast. Is a very good G5 team. The correct terminology is Liberty is a menace. Air Force really, living up to what I thought they would do before the season. Troy and South Alabama, and you got James Madison, Louisiana. 4 of the top 10 is in the Sun Belt. Like I said, that's why Georgia State, I think, snuck into that top 20 for strength of record by winning at Louisiana, who's a good team. SMU in the top 10. I think that, again, just that pummeling of, as you said, G5 on G5 crime against Temple, vaults them up there over Tulane and Northern Illinois, who I'm still surprised by, but, there's some staying power there so far. They had a tough game against a kind of crappy opponent last week. And then Toledo, like I said, with their big win over Miami of Ohio, comes in at number 9. Any surprises here for you, or does these pretty much make sense?
No, this makes a lot of sense, and I think it's going to be... Troy's undefeated too, right? Yeah, I think South Alabama had lost their Tulane, but then Tulane did lose. I think it's probably going to... with the exception of South Alabama, I think it's going to be one of those that are going to get that bowl bid. It's probably going to be between Liberty, maybe James Madison. It's unclear exactly. It's going to be between Liberty, Air Force, Troy, or Tulane. Maybe
Liberty,
SMU, but
Liberty's got a loss. I don't know if I don't know, and I don't want to confuse the.
Liberty 7-0.
You're right. Why aren't they? Well, I don't know. I don't want to confuse the real dopey pollsters with the mixed bag that is a college football playoff.
Yes.
That'll be interesting to see if Liberty makes the CFP top 25.
I'm going to go with no.
Why not?
Okay, they'll make the top 25, but it's going to be they'll be like 16th or something.
Just if they make the top 25, it'd be interesting. Just since
you mean James Madison?
No, Liberty, not James Madison.
Oh, Liberty. Oh, okay.
Yeah. They're not ranked. There's a couple of G5 teams that are ranked. Like we talked about Air Force and James Madison. I'm not saying my model is the be all end all, but I've got them as the best team. I think that you've got. Let's just go back here a little bit. You've got Liberty seventh, and yeah, so you have them as the best G5 also, which is interesting. I don't know why I was looking at that screen when I have it right here in front of me. Pardon me. So that's interesting. We both have Liberty ahead of James Madison. I guess, yeah, I wonder if the you think the CFP would rank James Madison? I think they would, only just for like a reference in terms of strength of record, if that makes sense.
Well, we're due for them to say something, aren't we? When is that? That's got to be soon.
It's usually the first, after the first games of November, if I remember correctly. So
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it's got to
yeah,
be soon. We'll hear from them soon, and they'll say something, and then I don't know. They'll probably. I'm sure we'll have some criticism for their rankings because they'll probably be
yeah.
terrible or something. So
There's always one or two really dumb things, and then just to see how they handle Michigan, and like we talked about in part one, will be fascinating
yeah,
to see. Yeah. Okay. My top 10 quarterbacks by Apex. Jaden Daniels again, number one. Caleb Williams sliding a little bit, as did Michael Penix. Williams with a couple of. He wasn't horrible, but he dragged down his average in that last game. And Penix, like we talked about in part one, had a 55 Apex for the week. No new names on here. We'll get to Kyle McCord at number 8 a little bit later in this part. But what sticks out to me is Jalen Milrose, now number 3. Um, you know, I, I, I don't know. Notwithstanding your comments about Alabama and the strength of record, it's just I can't even bring myself to say it. Is Alabama a little overlooked?
I mean that's a thing to say. I
It's a thing to say.
in some ways yes, but at the same time I just like they win. Sometimes they look good, and sometimes they win ugly, and it's like I just Milrow has improved. There is definite improvement there.
Yeah.
I just don't know where that ends. I feel like at a certain point, this is Saban coaching them to wins, and I feel like at a certain point that's going to run out. And I feel like okay, like the thing is, we always say, "Oh, the SEC is such a strong conference," and the SEC West is the toughest division, and like maybe I mean in the past there's been some questionable teams there. Now generally Auburn's good, generally Texas A&M is good, but they're not particularly good. Mississippi State's not
Oops.
the same
Sorry.
without. Oh, go ahead. Oh, you got some numbers there.
Yeah. You prompted a question that I'm researching as you're talking here. This is
Yeah. Okay.
interesting, but please go on.
Like no, Mississippi State isn't as good. Drawing a blank on his name, the coach from last year who passed away. Mike Leach.
Leach.
Ole Miss is pretty good, but like was never the most dominant force. Arkansas is not what it was in the past, but even then, like they barely beat Arkansas. Like the SEC West is not nearly as dominant as it's been in the past. Again, the team I haven't mentioned, LSU, they have yet to play, who was coincidentally the number one on this list. I looking at this, I kind of feel like Alabama has not played the toughest schedule yet, and I feel like its its time is coming. It's either going to be LSU or it's going to be Georgia in the SEC championship game, where it's like, okay, yeah, we can coach ourselves to beating these teams that seem like they're good, but actually are kind of underperforming what people think they should be, and then we're going to run into a wall, and it's going to be either LSU or Georgia, and I think it's probably LSU. What stat were you looking at?
Yeah. Well, you kind of shook loose, a little concept that I've kind of mentioned from time to time here is I see a strong relationship between luck and the quality of quarterback play, specifically the Apex ranking. So I wanted to see my luck metric. And for Alabama, they have 1.0 games of good luck so far. They rank 22nd. And I think probably, that's related to the Milrow Apex. Kind of weird to say that he's probably dragging them along. I think that there's also a good element of Saban in there too. But the other thing to keep in mind is, the Apex is strictly a passing rating. It doesn't include what a menace this guy is with his legs as well, which is just a nightmare to deal with. Um, I think, since Apex is efficiency based also, the fact that he's so good on the deep stuff really just overrides just those horrible passes that he throws on the short stuff. So I think it kind of looks at it as overall, okay, this guy's, really not fun to, he's going to light you up. And on average, he's going to have a lot of yards per attempt. Let me, shoot, I don't have it here. I'm kind of wondering how many interceptions he's thrown too. I'm guessing it can't be that much for him to be this high in Apex. Definitely less than I would expect coming into the season. So, all right, interesting, good discussion there. That became somehow is Alabama overrated, underrated, or properly rated discussion. Top 10 Ryan. Interesting, no new names jumping in here again. Stephen McBride from Hawaii just fell out and jumped back in. This Colin Lacey at some point, I might have to do a deeper dive on what on earth is going on in South Alabama. I don't understand that, but good for him. I don't remember this guy ever being on my radar before. The thing is, most of the other kids in the top 6, 7, really, I definitely had heard of coming into the season, except for him. So, and like I said, the Sun Belt is not an easy conference. This isn't like he's lighting up the MAC. Kind of interesting what's going on there. Anything new for you on this, or same old, same old?
It's kind of funny because when you look at this like with Apex, it's not 1-to-1 like draft stock for quarterbacks, but this is like almost 1-to-1 draft stock for wide receivers, right? Like this
Really?
is like the Apex is not. It doesn't match up perfectly with like people's big board quarterback drafts, which to be fair it wouldn't because some of them are not draft eligible anyways. But even then, if you just eliminate those, it doesn't match up perfectly. But like this is like there's discussions between Nabbers and Adunze, and with the exception, of course, there Marvin Harrison Jr. He should be at the top of this list, but he's not because of reasons. Kind of course, had a slower start, so that's kind of one of the reasons why he's not up there. But like a lot of these are like most of these guys are considered. They basically the top tier of your board. A lot of these guys are considered first round wide receivers. So, yeah.
Interesting. One other thing too, LSU and Washington both with 2 receivers in the top 10, which is crazy and not unrelated. They're both I think they're number 1 and 2 offenses in my offensive ratings. So go figure that out, huh? Yeah. All right, Team Ryan. Michigan just kind of jumped in. I think that stomping Michigan State on the road. Not that road venue matters, but just, scoring 52 points, you're going to get a lot of Ryan here. So they just jumped out from out of the top 10 to number 6. Other than that, again, Washington number 1, LSU number 2, no surprises there. Oklahoma number 4 is a little bit surprising in that I didn't really, my concern about them coming into the season was the explosiveness at wide receiver. They lost Marvin Mims, and the big question about them was, their weapons on offense. And they're ahead of Texas. That's kind of what matters most in that area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, Michigan absolutely annihilated Michigan State, which, to be fair, it's not really a fair fight when one team doesn't really have a head coach. But I think we're going to – let's see how Michigan does the next couple of weeks, right? We're going to now see the effect of – if there is – here's the thing. If all this – now, basically all the teams are now going to start changing up hand signals when they play Michigan. Are they all going to start having – are they all? They're probably all going to change their signals before they play them. So is Michigan now going to have problems? Are they going to play worse now? I kind of think Michigan's kind of unbettable because the problem is our models cannot detect this at all, right? We
No.
can't detect functionally cheating. Well, it is cheating. We can't detect functionally cheating versus just playing better, right? So
Yeah.
this is where this is going to get really interesting. So we'll have to see. But I think Michigan's unbettable, and I think it's going to be. I think honestly, the clearest evidence of this cheating may or may not be how do they do versus the spread till the end of the season, right? Like if they start massively underperforming the spread by 10 or so points, now our models will catch up pretty quick. That's what they're designed to do. If suddenly a team starts underperforming, our models catch up quick. But for other for the books, you're going to see it when they massively underperform a spread by 10 points for a couple weeks.
Yeah. 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 I don't know. There's so much conjecture. I don't want to take it in five different places, but that'll be just something to monitor and maybe just a deeper dive at some point too, as we kind of see those signals tip us off.
Mm-hmm.
All right, top GGAB, top running offense is Liberty number one. Kansas sneaks into the top 10. They just absolutely crushed TCU 41-3, I think it was, and they were alternating quarterbacks, and they like to run their quarterbacks, so that kind of makes sense. Of the top 10, Liberty, LSU, and USC are top 10 in both Team Ryan, sorry, in running offense, and have a top 10 apex quarterback. So those are your three offenses you need to fear the most, aside from Washington, who obviously is number one. But you mentioned before Washington, let's see how they run the ball. I don't know, by the eyeball test, they ran it okay against Oregon, but it wasn't like, oh my gosh, I hope they stop running if you're an Oregon fan. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, kind of garden variety running game.
I will say that a little bit of the breaking news here. Liberty will retain the top spot next week as they rushed for, as the game is now over, 323 yards
Yeah.
against Western Kentucky there. So Liberty will hold the top spot for next week unless Air Force does something insane. But probably not. So yeah, but no, Liberty, like, it's just a scary, what a scary team to play against, honestly, especially if you're not good at defending the run, which Western Kentucky is not good at defending the run. So, but yeah, a lot of these make sense. Kansas State is interesting. Kansas State plays Texas too, so this is something to watch potentially as well. Oregon really tried to run the ball against Washington. They really did. It was not bad, but not great. I feel like they should have tried to pass it more. I don't know why they were scared of passing against a defense that's not particularly good at anything. Well, okay, but like not amazing. So I don't know why they decided to keep running it with Bucky Irving there. But I think those teams will play again. So we'll see. But yeah, I think this is roughly what I'd expect. Yeah.
Yeah, a couple notes on here. USC actually was running for an incredible yards per attempt, and they just stopped running, which was to the chagrin of many USC fans. Although the problem at the end of the day wasn't on offense, but man, they were running. I think for the running backs were running for like an average of over 7 per attempt. It was nuts. They were really pushing the UTEP defense around. I don't know if you saw Oregon. It looked like Bucky Irvin at the end of the game. Actually, I don't know if he got concussed or something. No, they have a good backup in Jordan James, but Irvin is a special guy. He's like one of those guys that you just, he can carry your team, and they need him. James is nice, but I don't know if you've heard anything more about his status, but that can make a difference when they have some pretty, key games coming up here.
Yeah, I no, I don't think Oregon's playing anybody. Oh no, they're playing Utah this week, so watch out for that
Yeah.
game. But yeah, well, they should be able to run. They should still be able to run the ball against Utah. So hopefully that is something to watch, though, especially if we get towards the end of the season there for the Pac-12 championship game.
Yeah. All right, bum lists. Love the new blood in here. I don't know this Gio Wright kid at ULM, but probably wondering what took him so long to jump up here. ULM's been pretty brutal this season. Same thing for Taven Jackson at Indiana. And then Austin Smith at Eastern Michigan has been a train wreck all season. They've been really kind of towards the top here in terms of bad Team Ryan. So not surprising that he jumped in here in our bum list for quarterbacks. Southern Miss, not a surprise that they finally made the top 10 here in worst Team Ryan. This kid Billy Wiles, yeah, he's still there at number 8. He's been there since the first bum list of the season. And then Kent State before the season, I just said this is going to be a rough go for them since they had a complete roster overhaul, the complete involuntary roster overhaul, which is different from like what Coach Prime did this year and Lincoln Riley did last year.
Yeah, I will say it. What I will say is that it's kind of like it was funny because Southern Miss played, I think, on Thursday or Friday of last week. I can't remember which day it was.
It would have been on
Uh,
Thursday. Yeah.
it was Thursday, I think. Yeah, and I know some people, like you had mentioned earlier in the season, someone criticized us for being so far off market with our projections. And the spread, I think, was either 16 or 17. It was South Alabama versus Southern Miss. The spread was 17. I had like minus 33. Turns out it should have laid the minus 33. They didn't even
Yeah.
cover that.
Yeah.
They didn't even like. And it's just like when I'm off that much, and then I'm like, wow, I've got really big value here. And then you're like, actually, no, they needed more points. It's just the thing is, you had Frank Gore Jr., who I think was. I don't think he's going to the NFL. He's just kicking around, but he's in pretty good there. So I don't know what the heck they're doing. Like they need to completely rebuild there at Southern Miss. They need to fire everybody. Complete inability to get a quarterback. Complete inability to play
Yeah.
defense. It's just a lot of problems there. So they need to completely redo that one. And just yeah, blow that one up.
I will give Will Hall, the coach, credit for hiring a good DC. He, of course, went to Florida. Now their defense is completely, gone down the tubes. But Will Hall is a former offensive coordinator, and when that's the profile of a guy, he was an OC under Willie Fritz. And if that's your profile, and this is what you have as your resume as an offensive guy, you've got your offense is horrible. I don't know. You're consistent. Billy Wiles has been in the top 10 of the bum list. From the first one this season. That's not really the way to keep your job, though.
No, it is not.
All right, defensive team apex. Northern Illinois runs into the top 10. I can't remember who they played. They had a bad opponent, so I think that helped them a lot.
Eastern
Did
Michigan.
not see this. Oh yeah, that. We'll see that again in our next slide. Um, I kind of like Northern Illinois this season, not on the strength of their defense. I thought it'd be more of their offense, but hey, I'm not going to argue with it. Just I don't see this being repeatable, and just Northern Illinois is one of those teams where they lost every close game, then they won every close game. They made the MAC title game, I think, 2 years ago, despite having a negative point differential in conference games. Then last season they regressed, so they just seem to be like the ping pong of luck, just back and forth, up and down without any discernible reason. And hey, here's Liberty again, offense and defense.
Mm-hmm.
All right, on run defense, Jacksonville State. I think probably about a third of that defensive GGAB is due to when they shut out Eastern Michigan. Penn State and Michigan both top 10 in offense or run defense and pass defense on the prior slide. Part one, I spoke about Old Dominion. I don't know what this is really about, but I'm not going to argue with it. They cashed. Go Monarchs. Thank you very much. And Nebraska. I've been talking about Nebraska's defense for a while, how I thought they were sneaky legitimate. Now they're actually in the top 10 in my run defense metrics. So, I haven't asked you about this, and this is just an unfair question, but, how much does your model like Nebraska, if at all? Probably not as much as mine, because their quarterback play, I generously say, is shaky.
Let me call up the rankings here. I've got them 51. 51. I have to do a quick math of -1 because it's in Excel. So, but yeah, I've got them middle of the pack. Good, but not great. Kind of mediocre.
Interesting. Let me just see total.
That's ranking total. It's not necessarily defensive. I think the defense is carrying them.
Yep.
But
yeah. So I got them at 43rd, which is better, although, the equal weighting in offensive defense where you I think, especially quarterback play, their quarterback play is garbage. Now I'm looking at their, oh my God. Yish. Yeah, man, that's probably why they're never going to be that high in your model. Okay.
One thing I will say is that like they beat Northwestern. Now they didn't cover the spread against Northwestern, which is the same as last year. Last year when they played Northwestern, they did cover. But very, very different game than last year against Northwestern, right? They actually won the game. Okay, yes, their quarterback's a lot worse, their offense was a lot worse, but they did actually beat Northwestern this time. So, again, massive improvement over last year. Um, I think if this team actually had a quarterback and was able to do stuff now, again, maybe I don't know, maybe Matt Rule made a wish on a monkey paw somewhere that like I wish I had a good defense, and then he's now been cursed to always have bad quarterbacks because the same thing happened when he was the head coach of the Panthers. I don't know, but there's something there, and now maybe he can reverse the curse somehow, get a good quarterback in the off season, and actually do some stuff. I think there's a good chance he can, because this is college football, and Nebraska is not Iowa. It's close, but it's not actually Iowa, like physically close to Iowa. But like if you do that, I think this team could actually be a pretty good team. Now the Big Ten obviously gets a lot tougher next year, but like this team could be a decidedly like upper tier. It could be up there with UCLA and USC. Like maybe not with them, but like just a step below them, and be one of the better teams in the Big Ten next year.
Yeah. I think that next year they'll definitely kind of get one or two wins that surprise people. All right, market intelligence. Just trying to figure out if I'm missing something here. Virginia Tech is giving 3 to Syracuse. I'm picking up from this that whatever magic Syracuse had when they were undefeated a few weeks ago is just long gone. If you're a dog to lowly Virginia Tech, who's been a little bit better, my model liked for a while. But I think this is more a reflection of, man, Syracuse has really come back to earth than anything else.
I've got Syracuse -2, so I guess I take the +3, but that's not a. It's not like a wow, yeah, it's a great game we got here. Like it's like I guess Syracuse is slightly better. I guess I don't know, but yeah, the magic is clearly gone with Syracuse. I think Florida State took care of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
UCF giving only 7 to West Virginia. I actually have this as a play. I don't know. Central Florida has just confounded me for a while, and I think I got a little bit of clarity with that really good showing against Oklahoma, and I think coming home against a much softer opponent who seems to be regressing violently to the mean after an undefeated start. Or I think no, they lost to Penn State, but a pretty good start. This line, if anything, seems a bit short to me. I don't know if it's just stupid to say. Is there too much belief in West Virginia's hot start, or is there still some of that UCF team to the Big 12 baked into it?
Yeah, I'd say it's skepticism. So here's the thing, and this freaked me out last week because when I ran the model, I had UCF Oklahoma tied, and I'm like, what? I'm like, that can't be right. And I'm like, I'm not touching that. Clearly wrong. Oklahoma's gonna, because I think the spread was like 18 or 19 or something. Oklahoma's gonna crush them. Oklahoma did not crush them. Oklahoma, in fact, almost lost the game. Now they did win the game. They pulled it out. I think they won by a field goal, but that was a lot closer than it should have been. Now I have UCF as a 32-point favorite. Now that seems a bit excessive. But I wouldn't hate either taking UCF here or UCF in a teaser or some combination of that.
Yeah, agree. And this is one of those games we'll talk about when we get to our plays this week. Does this strike you as a little short, Kansas getting 10 at home against Oklahoma, considering, I was expecting a bigger line, not basically going by what my model says, but just kind of like I thought that the market would have this closer to, 2 touchdowns plus.
Yeah, I agree, but I think it's very weird because I think with I actually weirdly have Kansas favored in this game. There's a lot of games where I have the exact opposite spread of what the spread is, which is concerning. I think the model is saying Oklahoma is bad, and I think that's not necessarily true. So this is the interesting thing, right? I think what the model is saying is that, because if you look, let me just triple check last week super quick. because I think what happened was UCF won on the ground, right? They didn't win through the air.
Yeah.
Oh, no, not really. They only ran for 149 yards. They passed for
Really?
248. Yeah, they ran. Now they ran 41 times though, but they only ran average 3.6 yards per rush. Um, but I think the model is trying to say that Oklahoma is bad against the rush, and that's why it's doing that. And I think because
Mm,
I only have Jason Beam throwing for 190 yards. Now he gets 2 touchdowns because he generally kind of gets touchdowns closer to the red zone there. He throws it closer to the red zone, but I think the model is trying to say that Oklahoma is very vulnerable to the running game, and I think that's saying that Kansas's running game should be able to take advantage of Oklahoma. Because I think when you look at it, Texas had some big runs against them, and I think it's saying, oh, okay, Texas broke some runs against them. Therefore, their running game, their rush defense is bad. Therefore, that's why UCF got close, and that's why Kansas should get close too. So I don't know. I'm staying away
yeah.
from this. One thing I do like, and I kind of bet this almost every week, is Dylan Gabriel over 2.5 passing touchdowns. I'm not sure what that will come in at. He did not get those against Texas, which made me very sad. But the problem is as Oklahoma struggles in these games, they have to throw. It's literally like, okay, you just throw the ball, right? They can't run the ball, so they have to throw it, and then Dylan Gabriel just ends up scooping up passing touchdowns and insane amounts of yards. So that's kind of why I like betting Dylan Gabriel over passing touchdowns in this. So I'm probably going to leave this alone. This will be a fascinating. I want to see what happens in this game because it's possible Oklahoma could potentially lose here, and then at that point, then this if Oklahoma loses, it's going to functionally eliminate the Big 12, which would fix a lot of problems for the college football playoff. It would make Florida State, it would make Oregon feel a lot better. If you're Oregon, it would make you feel a lot better if Oklahoma loses. And then, because then it's going to be like, okay, it's going to be a one-loss champion versus another. So, like, you could be in a lot better position if Oklahoma loses this game. But it's weird to me that Oklahoma seems to keep underperforming a little bit, and the fact that the model has Oklahoma so low and Texas so high makes me a little concerned. So, but that being said, Dylan Gabriel could potentially be a sleeper Heisman one too, right? If like this is one of the things, right? Because I have Gabriel to win the Heisman too as well. If Dylan Gabriel like if they lose, then they're in trouble. But this is the problem, right? If Michigan loses to Ohio State, he's not winning the Heisman. Okay, well then if Michael Penix loses, I mean they have a bunch of tough games, but if Michael Penix loses in the Pac-12 championship game to Oregon, then he's not going to win the Heisman, right? So you're now looking at a cascading effect of who is actually going to win the Heisman, and it's like maybe Marvin Harrison Jr. He's at 20 to 1. Like the Heisman race is an absolute mess right now. Like I don't think anybody in the top 6 in terms of odds is even bettable, to be honest. So,
Yeah, interesting. You hit on a few things here, and I'm just kind of taking notes so I don't forget. You know, I have this Oklahoma only by 3.5, so I'm kind of in line with what your model is saying. That's not enough to bet it. I need at least, if I'm looking for a dual model play, it needs to be at least a touchdown difference. And now we're at, that line's at 9.5. Now it's actually dropped again, so that margin's down to 6,
mm-hmm.
which brings me to the next point. This kind of sounds and looks and smells like the line that stinks, and it's kind of almost that counterintuitive thing where the lower the line gets, I'm almost more inclined to maybe want to make a play on Kansas, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. A lot of weird things. And to your point about it might be the run. If I'm looking at my metrics here for the Big 12, the best running offense is Central Florida, who gave them a Dickens of a game. Number 2 is Kansas State. Number 3 is Kansas. So
Yeah.
maybe it's looking for kind of a replay, but on the road. Interesting. Good discussion here. All right. And then not quite the same caliber, Western Michigan at Eastern. I don't know how this game is even close. Eastern Michigan, I mean, I've spent a good amount of time beating them up in this part, and couple episodes ago, I was saying, hey, Western Michigan's offense is sneaky, decent, and good, and I think that this will probably be one of those games where we see that really manifest itself. Eastern Michigan just doesn't bring much to the table, and Western Michigan does do something really good on the side of the ball. And I will say, one of my favorite angles, Lance Taylor is a former running backs coach, so I like the improvement that's on his side of the ball in year one. So I don't know. What do you have this Saturday? Do you have any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I have this Western Michigan -10. I will say that because, like, I think last week we both had Ohio and Western Michigan as a closer game, but the spread was like 16.5, and I think Ohio only won the game like 20-16 or something. So the books are really hate Western Michigan for some reason, and I don't know why. So I kind of think we're just right on Western Michigan. That maybe the books hate Western Michigan for some reason that we don't understand. And I mean, Eastern Michigan did kind of they did cover against Northern Illinois, which they probably shouldn't have, but they did. So I do kind of like Western Michigan here, especially if you're getting what is that -125, -130 money line. That's not bad.
Yeah, that's a good note. I'm just gonna make a note for that. That's probably the play here. No,
Oh, I
some
thought that's up to
books.
-3 actually. It's up to -3 now.
Okay, then I get the money line. I think that's the play there. Um, ECU at UTSA. I'm not a fan of UTSA's offense. I think their offenses struggle a little bit with their new offensive coordinator. But hey, guess who struggled a lot more? It'd be anybody with Eastern Carolina with the football. Their offense is just horrible. Let me go back here. I think that they are, go back to the bum list here. There we go. Yeah, they're number one in the worst team, Ryan. And I think that their quarterback was for a while on the bum list, but I think he dropped out because he doesn't pass enough to qualify, which is why we have this team Ryan ranking. So sorry to make you all dizzy there, but I've I've kind of sworn off team totals until I get a better handle on it. But if I just do the math here, 46 minus 18 is 28. So that means that we're looking at 14 for ECU and 32 for UTSA. I can see the 32 for UTSA. I cannot see ECU getting 14 points. They struggle against like crappy teams. I don't see 2 touchdowns in their future. Um, Maybe I play just for fun a small team total under if it comes at 14 or higher. I
Mm-hmm.
forget what do you have ECU scoring here?
Yeah, so I've got 35.3 to 9.
That 9
Um,
seems right. Yeah.
so the fun thing about 9 is remember back when we were like Sam Houston State was like horrible and the
Yes.
model kept giving them points. It always they're going to score 9 points, which 9 I think is my model's way of saying like maybe they score a touchdown in something, just something. Maybe it's like a touchdown or 3 field goals or something. They do something right because like the model just kind of pushes them, muddles them through, and be like, yeah, okay. Like, I feel like the 9 is more 3 field goals and something rather than like a touchdown and like it's clearly not a touchdown and a safety. It's not actually what it's saying. Um, but it's like I think the model is saying that like because like the model will just kick a field goal. Like in real life, if you're down like 2-3 scores in the game, you'll go for it on fourth down. But in this, the model's just like that. Whatever, just kick a field goal, right? Who cares? Just
Mm.
whatever. We'll kick the model will kick the 21 down 21-0. The model will kick a field goal 10 out of 10 times because it's just like whatever. Because I think
Wait. So is your model? Do you have a name for it, or is it called Narduzzi, or is that just the working title?
well no it's based off of the for right now at least it's based off of the NFL. So I think in the NFL they'll always just because it's um, because there's so few basically blowouts in the like that scale blowouts, right? And because in the NFL there are tiebreakers of like how many points you scored in certain games, they'll kick that field like down 21-0 in a game they have no chance of winning or 21-0 or 28-0. Yeah, they'll kick a field goal because it's like whatever we get 3 points and then we get some tiebreaker helps us down the line for seeding or something, right? So like there is a tangible benefit, but in college they're just like, who cares, right? We'll go for it and fourth down, not get it, and then we won't Like that's the problem, and this is something I'm going to work on in the offseason. I'm going to hopefully get college play-by-play data, which will make that better. So those nines will become like threes or fours. That it's probably going to become like a four next season. So that will hopefully clear that up.
All right, that makes sense. Um, Marshall at Coastal. I'm going to actually pull this up here. Bear with me for 1 second. I was unable to get a line on this for a while. Yep, and I still am. Looks like unable to, because I think Grayson McCall. Let me just make sure here. I think Grayson McCall was hurt in the last game, and all right, now it's Coastal is getting 4. So I don't know if that means that he's out. I don't know. Have you seen any of the news on this one
I have no
regarding him?
idea. But yeah, it's four. I have Grayson McCall in my model,
Yeah,
and I do have Coastal -8. But then if he's out, then. But
yeah.
again, with college, it's always
He's
sketchy about injury reports, right? We have no idea if he's.
Yeah, he was hospitalized, which I had seen, and then ESPN saying he's doubtful. So that's not a play. That explains that
Mm-hmm.
this weird line that makes no sense. I don't know. It'd be interesting if Coastal can still, if Tim Beck can work some Tim Beck magic. He said sarcastically, and beat that vaunted Marshall pass defense. He said sarcastically. Um, all right, last one. I am just so far off from this one. Colorado UCLA is 64.5, and I think that's come down a little bit since. Let me see.
63.5.
Okay, yeah, it's still yeah, or 63 at some shops. Um, I think that's probably a function of just like Colorado's style, but and maybe a little bit of how UCLA ran it up against Stanford last week. I've got this as such a lower total. I can't see this being I don't get this even close to that total. What about you?
Yeah, I agree with that. I've got this as a 54, which is high,
Yeah.
but not that high. I do have weirdly Colorado covering the spread. I only have this -12.7. I think the spread is 17. Um, do we have any player props yet? No, we don't have any player props, but I kind of do like the under 65. Like UCLA's got a good defense, and especially if they're into this, if this is a game later on, they're going to have their top team out, and as we saw, Colorado does well. They're good on offense, but also see this thing. UCLA's offense has gotten a lot better now, right? So without Dante Moore, right? So I don't know what to make of this. I'd lean under 64 is a lot of points, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, you could see how they could go over. You could see how they could go over this, but I kind of think the under is the play.
Yeah, I've got interesting. I've actually got UCLA's offense is really struggling. I wouldn't necessarily say they've turned it around on offense as much as just facing Stanford can can give that impression. It's kind of the what do they say? In your rear drive or your rear view mirror, objects are not as good as it might seem when you're playing Stanford. Actually, this is interesting. I've got in the Pac-12. I only have Utah and Arizona State as worse offenses than UCLA, which is surprising. They were running the ball really, really well, but they had a really weak non-conference. I don't know if you remember. They played an FCS team. They played two really bad teams. I can't even remember who they were. I think my mind just doesn't want to remember it because they were so bad opponents. They really, really were not tested well. And boy, they actually are rushing 56% of the time. So, yeah, this is just fascinating calculus. They're one of the worst rushing teams in the conference. Only Utah runs it more. I think that's a pretty good recipe for not really being awesome on offense. So maybe that's what I'm seeing that the market is missing. I don't know. As I've said, my model's pretty good about sniffing out unders, and I think this is just maybe getting there before the market is in this case.
Mm-hmm.
All right, deeper dives. So, when Kyle McCord jumped into the Apex top 10 a few weeks ago, I thought it was interesting. And he stayed there since. And, he's still hanging in there at number 8. So I wanted to just kind of, dig in a little bit and figure out what's going on here. So I've got his, the Apex for the opponents that he's played. Oops, here we go. Each week. Then I've got his apex in the game, and I take basically what he's done relative to that defense to get like a plus minus, if you will. The Indiana, and I think probably, a part of this whole, I guess I say branding problem, for lack of a better term, is just how bad he looked in that game in what's turned out to be a pretty bad defense, especially from a passing standpoint. 109 is going to get you killed in the Big Ten, and he did not kill them. By that point, when he led Western Kentucky, we saw Liberty actually do just as well probably tonight when we run the numbers. Then you've got this Notre Dame game, and 91, people are going to say he looked pretty bad in that game, and he did. But guess what? Notre Dame's pass defense is going to make almost every quarterback look bad. As I think about it, I can't think of they've played Caleb Williams. That, as I talked about last week, that was by far the worst game of his career by like 90 points. I don't think Louisville really lit him up through the air that much, if I remember correctly. They made Riley
No, mostly.
Leonard.
Mhm.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Mostly on the ground. Yeah.
Yeah, Riley Leonard did not really have a great game against them as well. So I think that pass defense is absolutely for real. So that's one of those sneaky. Okay, he's it's an Apex plus of 42, but what your eyeball sees is this. He doesn't look that great. Is he stuck in mud? Um, then you've got Maryland, who's pass defense. I don't think anybody would say if you say, hey, name a good pass defense, Maryland would come to anybody's mind. But 82 is very good, and he just completely lit them up. Lights up Purdue. Penn State, a 134 apex is good, really good. A 134 apex against Penn State is otherworldly. 95 above that, that's basically, I don't know how to describe it other than this. It's unfathomable. We might look back as this being the best quarterback performance against Penn State this season when all is said and done. So total, you've got this, he's got a 154, which is really, really good. He's faced amazingly good defenses. A 76 is a really tough average that you're facing. And so he's plus 78 above that. And look at this, just these last three games post Notre Dame, he's almost 100 points over what he's faced. I need to see what's in their wide receiver room, but this kind of looks to me like what I want in my Heisman Trophy bet for next year. Now I know that I think Ibuka's gone and Marvin Harrison Jr.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be interesting. I don't know. Interesting to keep an eye on for this year or for next year. Is this sustainable for this year? Absolutely. He's been a different guy since that Notre Dame game, and I put a little play-by-play drib here. When he threw to Ibuka on that third and 19 at the end of the Notre Dame game, that kind of looked to me like, all right, he's got it now. I don't know if you remember that. That was like the long,
Mm-hmm.
just dagger before they eventually got into the end zone.
Yeah.
That just kind of seemed to me like, okay, he's got it now. And that was against an elite pass defense as well. And then just for kicks, JJ McCarthy, I've got him higher on the Apex top 10 list, but he's faced easier quarterbacks. So relative to performance, since Notre Dame, actually McCord's been the better quarterback between the two.
So what do you have? Wisconsin has. Do you have Wisconsin having a good pass defense as well?
Yeah, let me pull up my my notes here.
This is going to determine whether or not we're going to bet. Whether I'm going to bet McCord over 2.5 passing touchdowns this week.
Yeah, I think I've got that one going under, too. Not to spoil the next segment coming up here, but let me look up defensive apex. Wisconsin is 50.
Apex of 50?
Defensive apex, yeah. Let me see. They're number 11. Just outside the top 10.
Okay.
So
they're basically Penn State level then. Oh, so he's going to struggle again.
You will. Well, pass defense, they're Notre Dame level.
Yeah. So he'll struggle a bit then. Okay. So it's not time to bet him to pass for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, and because
Well, I
I
don't
did.
know. Do you think they would post that at 2.5 or 1.5?
Well, last week was 1.5, and the over was I think -150. I bet the under, and that was I loved that because I loved the under in the game, and I loved his under passing touchdowns in both. Like he didn't even come close to getting a second passing touchdown, which is a weird thing to say because like theoretically any quick strike, but it never happened. They basically always ran it in. He got one, I think, and that was it. Maybe it will be 1.5, but I think they could probably do more damage to Wisconsin, or Wisconsin's offense is just not good. So I do have I have Wisconsin keeping competitive, but I worry about that when I see that it's like a quarterback who has very few completion attempts. That's the problem. So the model does weird things when that happens. What is the over? Yeah, okay. I think we're gonna talk about the total in that game later. So let's move on to the next segment
Yeah.
then.
Okay. Um. All right. Buck the bookie. There's the rules. Take a screen grab if you don't. I'm not going to read them to. We're all grown ups here. Anything that you're looking to maybe play here?
All right. Um, was thinking about. Let me find. I'm on Thing. I'm on DraftKings. Yes. Okay. Ohio State to win the Big Ten.
Well, that's right. You got them as champs here, huh? To win the
Yeah, to
Big
win. So
Ten.
not college football to win the Big Ten.
Plus 180.
DraftKings plus 165. All right, I'm taking you 100 at plus
Wow.
180. So I'm functionally betting that this is a Ohio State plus, and I think what you've priced in functionally as well is that it's money, basically plus 180 money line against Michigan is what you're saying.
Um. Ish. I mean, you never know if there's a toast up along the way.
True,
Um.
but I think if even if they lose one, they still beat Michigan and they still win. I think they get to the championship game and then they have to play a team from the West with a backup quarterback. So it's functionally
Very true. Okay. Plus 180. How many points?
100.
Wow. Okay.
And then I think that's it. Uh, What do you have? What would you give me Oregon to win to make the playoff?
To make the playoff?
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Yeah. So they would need to. Yeah, they can't lose another. It's going to be tough. They can't lose to USC. Not that that's a huge risk. They can't really. It's going to be dicey if they lose one more game. They can't lose at Utah. Just talking myself through it, and then they'd be a
They'd have to
slight
go
favorite in the rematch.
to make the
Go ahead.
playoff. They'd have to go undefeated
Oh
the
yeah,
rest
they
of the
would.
way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you for helping me. That's
Yeah.
line makers always appreciate that. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Having said that, 280.
DraftKings is giving me the better price plus 450. All right, we're gonna put 25 at plus
450.
450.
Okay.
Ooh, okay. Actually, sorry. One more fun one. Michigan
Yes.
to not make the college football playoff.
Oh man, yeah. No, that's off the board.
There you go. Okay.
Not
DraftKings
with
plus.
the yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. DraftKings plus 160. We're gonna put 25 on that. That's not your line. That's DraftKings line.
No. Plus 125.
Plus 160. Plus 160.
160. Okay.
Michigan to
And how many
not make the
points?
playoffs. 25.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Good luck to them on that. I don't know. I don't know how you could lay a number with that whole big unknown out there. That's a good catch by you. I like that.
Yeah, I wish my books. I wish I had a DraftKings account. I have the other one's not DraftKings because that'd be an amazing
Just
play.
yeah. Just to point out, that's not really the purpose of the exercise. Is where we end up saying, "I wish I had a DraftKings account." But
No, I mean, well,
very fair. It kind of is the purpose, just to say,
yes,
okay, yeah,
man. To be fair, that is a horrible line. So if you're listening to this podcast and you have a DraftKings account, immediately
yeah,
log in and bet that, like straight up, like because there's so many unknowns that there's a good question that John Harbaugh might not be coaching past, maybe not even coaching this week, right? Like huge question. Like I'd say very questionable for next week, potentially even this week. Like yeah, good luck. Good luck with DraftKings having the plus 160 there. That could be gone
yeah.
in yeah. So
Yep.
all right, looking
All
ahead.
right. Looking ahead. You know what? Last week I was so excited to go shopping in the Ginza district in my Tulane shirt that I forgot to ask you if you had any
Oh
plays.
yeah, yeah.
So, you're still up. My plays went 1-1 with one push. The model was a little bit over 500. One thing to point out here too, and if anybody's still going to listen to us next year, week 4 is when I actually run my model for the first time after the week 4 games, and I have numbers for week 5. So this is my total opinion. 9-2 is my really informed opinion based on the model. So just keep that in mind. I might just get a little cagey and not make any plays in weeks 1 through 4, although that would be horrible podcasting. The other thing to point out here is composite. If you had followed all these plays, your composite ROI would be over 14% for the season.
I think one thing we will look at is in the off season we're going to look at trying to get better priors. Like, and obviously we talk about previews and stuff, but like when I say priors, I mean a number. Like this is what
Yeah.
this team's defense should be. This is what, and it's gonna. We'll sit down and it's gonna be some long calls there. But we'll figure it out. We're gonna hammer it out. It's not easy math. Doing like pre stuff, like I know a lot of people do it and they're like, oh, I have this projected. And I'm like, well, good luck. I have no idea how you came. That's just a number to me. That you just came up with that number randomly. Like there needs to be well thought out reasons as to how you're justifying. Like, I think this team is going to get average this yards per play or this based off of transfers and graduations and recruitment and all this stuff, right? So good luck with that. But I think we're gonna. And that's one thing I want to work on. I want to work on having a more detailed like early season. This is what we think would happen based off of transfers and coordinators and all this stuff. So
Yeah, well, the good news is most of those people that just randomly have a number that's not founded in anything, they typically have a vote in the AP Top 25 for whatever that is worth. The other
that is
thing
to be
too
fair. That
is
is true, actually. Yes.
when we do have this, I would make a separate column for these because one of the value adds of this is just to show kind of the different, look, the joint plays when this is, kind of me and you just saying, okay, I think. And when it's actually more of like, hey, here's my informed decision based on current season stuff. I think clearly there's, God bless us both, but this is dragging down our average. What I might do is kind of slide this bar's right edge over to here and just count the ROI for here and say, shame on you if you listen to just, you and I bullcrap stuff. But have another column just to say, here's the season priors plays through week 4.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. No news here on the preseason upsets. Sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry.
I did.
You
Yeah.
missed on Tennessee and Alabama.
They
No
almost, to
shame
be
in
fair, they
that.
almost did though. They like that was pretty sad. They looked good for like the first half of the game, and then they just decided to not score again. So shout out to that. Um, yeah, I don't know what happened there.
Yeah. Yeah. No. But if you look at my 3 losses, that's better than any of the 3 losses that I took so far this season. Those have not really been close. All right. Potential plays for this week. As you know, to take you all back last week, we when we recorded this, there were 2 games that we gave out that were over by the time we released this. I think when we recorded them, they were both losing. or one was losing and one was a push at that time. I guess just take us at our word. You know, we both had Liberty by a good amount here. I guess the other thing I would say is it takes a little bit of time to get this package together, so it's not like I could do this as the Liberty game was playing out while we're doing the podcast. So I love this one. Your model really like this one. This is a pretty strong dual model play. With that in our rear view mirror, we're on different sides of this total Indiana at Penn State. I think this is a function of my model thinking that Indiana is going to basically not score at all, given the Penn State defense. And let me see how many I've got Penn State scoring here. It's just, I think this total almost comes down to a matter of how much Penn State really wants to score and can shake off, the woes of last season. Yeah,
Yeah, see,
31
I
and
have
46.
Indiana scoring 7.6 points, right? So my
Yeah.
model's like, they'll do something. They will contribute to the total in some way.
Yeah,
Which, is not
I've got them.
guaranteed.
I've got them scoring 6 as well. I've just got it. Oh, wait a minute. No, I've got them scoring. Sorry, I've got them scoring 1. Not sure how that's possible. Maybe Brian Ferentz is coming in for this game. Until they get 1, he'd find a way. So I like the under here. I'll say it again. My model is freaking awesome at finding unders. Yeah. Next one, we talked about this a little bit already. We both, your model is in love with UCF here. I really like it too. 10's a pretty big margin for me at this point of the season. So this is a dual model play. Anything to add on this one that we didn't cover already?
No, 32 seems a bit big, but yeah, if you like it, I don't think they'll cover 32, but let's see. I'll play that one for sure.
This next one, it doesn't quite qualify as a wrong team favored play. Although we both like North Texas, I was surprised. Although now that I think about it, I shouldn't be, since North Texas. Let me look this up before I talk out on my posterior here and say something wrong.
Well, they almost beat Tulane last week, but they were I think 3-score dogs against Tulane.
Yeah, their offense has been feisty, and I think it's probably why your model likes them more than I do. But you've got this as like a 19-point margin here. I've got this as 10.5. So 10.5 isn't quite enough for me to play it without the confirmation from your model. But your model really likes this. So dual model play. And just in case if you're wondering, the wrong team favor, I've done some analysis going back to 2016, and you really need to you need the dog to actually be 4 points better by your projection for it to be a wrong team favored situation. So I'm not quite there with 2.5 in my projection here. Can't play it, so it's not a wrong team favored play, but definitely already have the side on this one. And we both like this one too, Nebraska over Purdue. I think mine is more on the strength of their offense, and I don't know if I remember at the beginning of the season, Purdue's defense was modeling out pretty well. Let me just see here that's come back. That's really regressed a lot. Basically we've got 3 average squads, and I've got the Nebraska defenses, almost top 20. And I think I had them the top 20 in, I think it was pass defense, if I remember correctly earlier. So I've got this total being at 49 as well, which is actually above the total. That's interesting. Boy, the total on this one is 42, but I'm showing Nebraska's 10 points better. You've got them as, sorry, I've got that. You know what? I think I got those wrong. I think you've got them as, these are transposed. I got them as 10 points better. You've got them as 19 points better.
Mm-hmm. Let me just check.
Yeah, you've got 34 to 15.
Yeah.
So, according to our friend, just toss your model when you're that far off from the market, buddy.
Yeah. So one thing I will say is that this is an ugly, ugly game. I'll use an NFL example. The last couple of weeks, there's been some ugly, ugly like in the NFL, like there's teams that are like they're just bad, and you're just like, I can't believe I want to lay points with this team or take points with this team. Like for example, last week the Bears were I think, 3-point underdogs to the Raiders, and both those teams are horrible. But you're like, the Bears are just the worst. So how could the and like my model had the Bears favored by like a touchdown, and I'm like, that's
Oh
weird.
boy.
And like I played it in my like the things I don't wager actual money in, like long term season games. I'm like, yeah, okay, I have the Bears favored by a couple points. I'll take the Bears on the spread in my spread pool. But like I didn't actually play that, and like I should have, because they destroyed them. They won by like 2 touchdowns. And then the same thing with the Falcons. My model had the Falcons favored. I think they were a 1.5 point dog to the Buccaneers. And the same thing. Okay, yeah, they're not freaks. Obviously, you paid entry into them in the early season, but yeah, okay, I'll play them on the spread in my spread pool, and I'll play them on the money line in the prediction game. And but yeah, they won that outright. I should have bet on them because the teams that I did bet on they didn't win. So, yeah, that was a mistake. Well, but it's like at the same time, it's like they're so ugly. Like I can't believe I'm making this play, but I think like in the future, it's like, yeah, I should lean into the ugliness, lean into the ugly play. Like, yeah, like this is ugly. Like you're like, oh man, I want to lay 3 points with Nebraska. No, I don't. I would. There's many things I would rather do than lay 3 points with Nebraska, but all right, I guess we'll lay 3 points with Nebraska. It's like, what could go wrong? I mean, we're not betting the, not, we're not putting the mortgage on this anytime soon, but like, yeah, like it's spread play -3, that's fine. Right? Like, you can only lose however much you bet on this, right? Like, it's not like a derivative where you could, like, it's just isn't like a short selling thing. But, like, yeah, just put a thing
Yeah.
on it. You win, great. You lose, oh well. Not the end of the world, move on, right? So,
Yep. You know what's interesting too is we both have this total coming in at 49 as well, just for what it's worth.
huh.
Yeah, that's interesting. Iowa State at Baylor. Iowa State, I think they're up to 2.5 now. But I grabbed them at giving one, and that's touchdown margin versus yours, and 9 versus my number. I don't know. Did you grab this or?
It's 2.5. I will grab that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I absolutely love that. That's a great. There's value there. I don't know why Baylor would be favored over Iowa State at all, or even close to it.
Yeah, and I think there's the Iowa State quarterbacks really. Did we talk about that last week? I think we did, where he
They
just
were on bye
kind of
last week, but I think 2 weeks ago we talked about them. They were on bye last week, I
yeah,
think.
where they're just their quarterbacks really just kind of just improved a lot. And we talked about it last week because they're actually scoring some points recently relatively to where they were at the beginning of the season. I mean, their offense was just not functioning at all earlier, and then that Rocco Becht kid has kind of figured it out a little bit. I mean, he's not awesome, but he's maybe I'll look into kind of his improvement next week too. He's become functional at least, and with that defense, you don't need to be, you know, you don't need to be Washington's offense to win games, especially if you're facing, Now it's at Baylor for whatever that's worth, but you know, Baylor's not exactly on the best trajectory of any team I'm seeing. Yeah, Iowa State's defensive rating is 7.6. That's if it's not in the top 20, it's just about there. BYU at Texas. I've got some bad news for you, buddy. Both of our models love Texas here by like a touchdown plus.
So that's interesting. 'Cause I was when I'm all weirdly liked Texas here, and I'm like, but Texas barely beat Houston. But no, apparently model loves Texas. So I think on some level it's because I only had Texas, I think, like 17-point favorites last week in my model, and that was still too high. Um, but yeah, the fact that you have the 25 there, that means I'll lay that as well. I don't love laying big numbers with Texas, but the thing is, to be fair though, the Houston rivalry, that one meant something, right? That was meaningful. They hated each other. BYU's just happy to be here. They're like, I'm in the Big 12 now. This is great. Like they're like, who's this Texas? I mean, they clearly know who Texas is, but they're like, we never played Tech. We don't have any hatred towards Texas, not more than usual. Then we don't have like extraordinary hatred toward Texas. So yeah, this isn't a meaningful rivalry game. So yeah, Miles says Texas is good. I guess we'll lay the points with Texas.
Yeah, a couple things on this. away from the numbers, this is a classic Sark just running it up against an inferior opponent
Yeah.
situation, especially at home. And to that point, it's a complete mismatch. I've got BYU's offense power rated as a minus 6.6 and Texas's defense is a plus 6.6. If I do the math here, it's showing that BYU should have 10 or 11 points, and that might even be a little generous. This is a stat stuffer game, I think, for Texas. So I've grabbed it, and I think that I don't know. Not that you're dying to bet on Texas to cover anything, but
I think I will, because the fact that you have it makes me feel more confident in that now. So I think I'll take that.
okay, all right. I think this total's come down from when we put this together. Air Force at Colorado State. Let me just check that real quick. Do you have a more current? I think that's come down to maybe 48 or so.
Well,
48 and a half.
48 and a half, yeah.
Yeah. So that's still a play for me, given you might remember at the top of the part 2 here, I mentioned that Air Force, their defense is actually top 15 now. So that and this kind of margin, even a 6-point margin between the projection. You're not showing it as quite an underplay, so it's not a dual model play, but definitely I'm playing it. Just textbook what my model loves.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally, Colorado at UCLA. I talked about this in the market intelligence. I've got this total at 63 or 43 and a half, way, way, way below. You've got it below, and this number's come down a bit too. I just saw you there. 63 now, not that far down. No, okay, point and a half, but point and a half from 64 and a half is not huge. We both have this as big play, so that's a dual model play. I've grabbed this already.
Yeah, I think I'll grab that too. We both agree on an under, which is, well, I mean, it's not the sign of the apocalypse, but it's close. My model is usually pretty high on overs, so I think that if we both agree on an under, I think that's you play that under. Then I think last week we both agreed on the Penn State Ohio State under, and that one was pretty easy cash too. So
yeah, that was never in doubt.
We got I bet you anybody you tally it up, it's like when we both agree on under, it's like 100%. It's like this is happening.
Yeah. Wrong team favored. Nothing qualifies this week, but I do want to mention that last week they went 3-0. In my experience, this is kind of how it works. You're going to have 1 or 2 weeks where it just kind of explodes and really carries your whole season. So you might remember, I think that the ROI was negative, I think 54% going into last week. Mm-hmm. So if you played them all, the equal size units, all of a sudden you've got a 37% ROI on the same play. Mm-hmm. And just about the time you realize that there's not going to be any more to play this season, that's the other cruel fate of the wrong team favored play.
And also remember that ROI is money line ROI, not spread spread ROI as well. Because spread it does pretty well. So
yeah. Yep. So you have any other plays than since I've got again the bold are the dual models, the not bold are my plays.
Yeah.
What else you got?
Let's do for some reason, and I'm not sure why, Mississippi State is getting 6.5 at Auburn. I don't know why. That seems a bit excessive to me. That's one. I don't. I grabbed this early, but I don't have any more value on this now. I had Florida at plus 17 against Georgia. I don't hate Florida plus 14.5, but that's like a half model play at this point because I have that spread. I think it's 16, so it's an iffy spread. What else? One weird one. I thought you might have pointed this out as well. Is Wyoming is getting 5 at Boise State. I thought for sure you would have had this in market intelligence, and for some reason my model, I was like, that's weird. My model for sure have Wyoming favored, but no, it also has Boise State -5, which is very weird.
Yeah, that stuck out to me, but I think my model's got that's at Boise, right?
Yeah. I was like, there's no way my model has Wyoming favored, doesn't have Wyoming favored in the game, and sure enough, I have Boise -5. Like, literally 4.9.
Yeah.
I have.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, you do. Because I had this basically even. I thought, well, that can't be right. Because that's almost a play if it moves to a touchdown, which it wouldn't, then it would be a play. But then you've got Boise better. So you're going to go against your model and take Wyoming?
No. I just want to point that one out. That's got to
Oh,
be a
okay.
weird. I'm actually fascinated to see what the result of this game is, because it has to be some sort of weird matchup specific thing. Like, maybe Wyoming's quarterback is bad under pressure, and Boise brings. It's got to be something like that. There's got to be some hidden matchup thing, because there's no reason why Wyoming should be a dog to Boise. Like, that's going to be people are going to be betting on Wyoming all day. Um, what else have we got? Oh, okay. Um, so, UL Lafayette, they're getting 10 against South Alabama. I've only got South Alabama favored by 4. So plus 10 there. That's not bad. Their quarterback, Zion Chris, we like him. And what else? What is? I kind of think that, like, watch, complete the loop. Miami. Well, it would complete the loop anyway. But Miami spread against. No, I hate that. Uh this is so hard.
Complete the loop.
But like Miami against Virginia, if they beat Virginia, then it technically completes the loop, because then North Carolina would have beaten Miami, then Miami would have beaten Virginia, and Virginia would have beaten North Carolina. That would have been it does complete the loop. Um, but yeah, I'd say that was clearly a ceiling game from West Virginia, or sorry, not Virginia, from Virginia, and I don't know if they have it in them 2 straight weeks. So give me Miami there. I think that makes sense.
You're going to take Miami. You're going to give 18 with Mario.
Guess we're gonna give 19 to Tony Muskett, I guess.
Yeah.
What's
Well,
what's
you
the
frame
worst
it
that could
that way.
happen?
Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna give Tony Muskett 19 points, and then yeah, I think that's it for that week. That's how many plays? That's 4 plays, 3,
Yep. Yeah, 4.
4 plays. Okay, we'll call that then. That's fine. Also, I said Florida plus 14.5.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. Whatever. Put that on there. It's more of a fun play if you're up for it. Florida actually does pretty well in this game, to be honest. So this is a rivalry game, largest outdoor cocktail party. So
Yep.
yeah, whatever. 14.5, close enough to 16.
Okay, cool. Alrighty. Well, having said that, I believe we are done with part 2, looking ahead to week 9, yes?
Yes, I believe we are done. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you everybody for listening, and we will see you in about a week. And in the meantime, good luck with all your plays.
Yep. When we come back to you next week, we will be watching Maction. So yeah.
That's right.
See you next week.